Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am no longer pregnant, yay! I'm not one of those women who loves to be pregnant. Some women really love being pregnant, but my pregnancies are kind of difficult. So especially at the end of the pregnancy with Lucas, I was so done. I wanted to be induced, and I had even scheduled an induction, and thank God I put my induction closer to 42 weeks, so I actually was able to allow my body to go into labor naturally on my own. Thanks to my friend Stacy, who encouraged me to not get induced so quickly. How do you like being a big sister? Not really saying much. And I want to say thank you so much to my parents because they're here visiting me so that I can film this video, and they're watching Lucas and Ariana for me. So I really wanted to share my labor and delivery story with you guys. Well, because with my first pregnancy with Ariana, I went into labor at 38 and a half weeks, and I loved going into labor early because it really hurts towards the end of your pregnancy. At least it did for me. Like, the pelvis is down there, or your pelvis is aching from the, the baby being so low and everything, and there's just a lot of aches and pains. And so with this pregnancy, I didn't go into labor until I was 40 weeks and 3 days. I thought that I was gonna go into labor early. I really felt it in my body, like, oh, I'm not gonna last to my due date. And I think I even said it in several YouTube videos, oh, the doctors don't know, they got my due date wrong. I know I conceived earlier than what they're predicting and all this stuff. So it's just, you really can't predict when you're gonna go into labor. But I almost went to the hospital a couple of times thinking I was in labor. I thought I was gonna go into labor in August. It didn't happen. And when my due date passed, it was like, no, If you are in that range of 37 to 40 weeks pregnant right now and you still haven't given birth, hang in there. I know it's painful and you're not alone. There are other women suffering out there too. All the pain is worth it. That little baby is just going to bring you so much joy, and they are just so worth it. And so you can do it, and I want to encourage you moms to be out there. You can do this. So I finally went into labor on Labor Day, which was Monday, and I thought I might be in labor like late Sunday night. I kind of felt like the contractions were coming consistently, which before, they had never been very consistent at all. So I didn't even bother trying to track them or time them. I had tried, but I would get frustrated because they weren't consistent. And finally Sunday night they started to get consistent, but they were super mild, and I didn't know if they were gonna go away or not. So I just went to sleep hoping that I was gonna go into labor the next day. Every day I would hope that I would go into labor, and it never happened. So I didn't want to get my hopes up. And I just kind of told myself, you know what, you're probably gonna be one of those women that's like 42 weeks pregnant, having to get induced, and thank God it didn't happen that way. So I woke up Monday morning and I was still having those contractions, and they were still really consistent. And my husband has been working a lot. He has deadlines at work that he's having to, deal with and work around and everything. So he went to work super early, and these contractions kept coming and I couldn't hardly move. I turned on the TV so my daughter could watch some cartoons so I could just lay down, and the contractions started getting more intense and more painful, and I was like, this better be the real thing. And one of them was just so intense. I was like, no, I can't do this at home. I've got to be in labor. So I started timing them, and I timed them for about an hour, and they were consistent, 8 minutes apart, lasting about a minute. So I called the doctor at the hospital. I was like, look, is this labor? And he's like, well, why don't you time them for another hour and see, because it might go away, and if it stays consistent, then why don't you come in? Because the hospital doesn't want all these women hanging out that aren't really in labor. He wanted to make sure that I was truly in labor. And then after I hung up with the doctor, I got another contraction that was super painful, and I was like, no, I'm not going to wait another hour timing these when I'm in this much pain. This has got to be the real thing. So I called my husband. I told him, come home right now. And we went and we dropped my daughter off at my parents' home, and they were going to watch her for us. So I was going to have to be away from my daughter for the first time for 2 nights in a row, which had never happened. And that was probably the hardest part about the whole labor process for me, was being away from my firstborn baby girl for 2 nights in a row. That was super hard. No amount of pain was harder than being separated from my daughter. The contractions that I was having were not as painful as the contractions that I had had with my first pregnancy. So I did feel like this second pregnancy or second labor was definitely easier than my first labor, and it was shorter. We probably got to the hospital around 10 a.m. that morning, around there, and they monitored me to make sure that you know, like my contractions were definitely increasing in strength, just to verify that I was indeed in labor. And then they got a room ready for me. By the time I was in the room to give the birthing room, my contractions were about 6 minutes apart. And I had told them when I got there, I was like, I need that epidural, because with my first labor with Ariana, I was 8 centimeters dilated before I got the epidural. So I was in a lot of pain. And in between my contractions, I was in a lot of pain with my firstborn. But with my secondborn, I would have the contraction, but then all the pain would go away. So it was easier. That was one of the reasons it was easier. I told them, look, my dilation, I'm gonna be dilated to 10 centimeters super fast. You've got to get me that epidural, because I was 8 centimeters dilated before I got my epidural with my daughter. Please, with this next baby, please get me that epidural super fast. And they did, yay! I was 6 centimeters dilated when I got the epidural. So I was super happy, because all of a sudden all the pain went away. And the epidural this time went a lot easier and smoother than it did with my daughter, because I was 8 centimeters dilated when I was getting the epidural last time. So I was in an extreme amount of pain. And for some women, they don't have a lot of pain in their labors. It's hard to say how painful labor is, because it's so different with every single pregnancy, and it's so different it varies woman to woman. Like, some women experience no pain, some women have horrendous pain in their labors. So I had to come back and film this video, because it was getting a little too cray-cray behind the scenes with Ariana running around and everything, and with my family here. So now it's late at night, and as you can see, I have my baby boy Lucas with me here. And he's acting like he's sleeping, but he's not really asleep, because if I were to try to set him down, he would all of a sudden pop his eyes open and start crying because mommy's not picking him up. Some moms get these super easy newborns, and some moms get really hard newborns, and I don't know, I think he's kind of in the middle, maybe slightly towards easy, because he is a lot easier than Ariana, my daughter, was at newborn stage. So, but you know, he's still a lot of work. So, but I would venture to say that most newborns are. Where was I in my birth story? My first pregnancy, the labor was very difficult. It was painful the whole time between the contractions, during contractions, in the middle of contractions, just always painful. And again, I didn't get the epidural until towards the very end. And with him, I got that epidural when I was 6 centimeters dilated. And then it was easy breezy from then on out. I mean, I was able to just chill, just letting my body dilate. I remember feeling like I was running a marathon, but I wasn't doing anything. I was just laying in the bed. But like, if you could imagine that exhaustion, that feeling of fatigue, that's what I felt as I was continuing to dilate to 10 centimeters. And so they had I checked into the hospital, I want to say around 10 or 11 a.m. that morning, and I delivered him by 4 p.m. and I don't remember what time it was when I was 6 centimeters dilated. But when I got to the hospital around 10 or 11, I was already 4 to 5 centimeters dilated. And then when they checked me into the room and got me the epidural, I was 6 centimeters. So I don't know. But it felt like everything was happening so fast. Every hour they were coming into the room, checking to see how far apart my contractions were, how dilated I was. And it just, I was so tired from laboring, even though I had the epidural and wasn't feeling pain. My body was extremely tired and I just felt really fatigued. And some women are against epidurals. They just want to have the baby natural. And I could hear women in the hallway screaming bloody murder, like they didn't have their breathing down right. So they were screaming because they didn't know, I guess they didn't know how to handle the pain, or maybe it was super painful for them. I don't know what they went through. But I was like, I'll take the epidural. And I had and because I had had a good experience with the epidural with my first labor with Ariana, I wasn't afraid to do it again. And thank God I didn't have any complications with the epidural at all. So for me, epidurals are a positive experience, so I would recommend them to anybody, provided you have a good anesthesiologist, of course. He was born on the 7th, and today, the day that I'm filming this, is the 23rd. Even though I gave birth to him just a little over 2 weeks ago, it feels like it was a month ago. I can't even remember the labor process. I wish I would have filmed the labor process while I was going through it, but there was no time for cameras then. I don't know how some people do film their labor. You're in one of those little hospital gowns where, you're very exposed. So I don't think I would have wanted to be on camera. Before I met Lucas, I remember the doctor saying something like, oh, this baby could very well be over 8 pounds. And I was just like, what? No way. This baby can't be over 8 pounds or even 8 pounds. That just seemed like too big of a baby to me. And he ended up being born at 8 pounds and 11 ounces. And my first baby was 6 pounds, 5 ounces. So this was, and I tore with Ariana, but with him I didn't tear, even though he was a bigger baby. So that was kind of interesting. He was measured at 22 inches long when he was born, so he was a very big baby. And when, I pushed him out like in about 3 pushes, because I was dilated to 10 centimeters just hanging out. Can you see him there? He's kind of fussing a little bit. It's late at night. He likes to be burped. I wonder if he doesn't like me talking. What happened? But I remember pushing him out and they told me, grab your baby, Jennifer. And I reached forward, my legs were all wide open or whatever, but I reached forward and grabbed him and picked him up and put him on my chest, and he turned a little bit blue at first. They kind of smacked his back, and then he started crying really loud, and I just wanted to nurse him so bad. And he was a little slow to begin nursing, and I am breastfeeding, by the way. I'm a big pro believer in breastfeeding. Once you've read all the pros and cons to breastfeeding, it's obviously ideal. Like even the formula companies say breastfeeding is best and whatnot, but not everybody can breastfeed for one reason or another, so no judgment to anybody out there, but I thank God I am able to breastfeed. And but he was a little slow to start, so it did take some pushing. And I just remember thinking this was so much easier with Ariana, because my first daughter, she like latched on right away and started nursing 45 minutes on one side, 45 minutes on the other. But he didn't want to nurse at all at first, but he had a little bit of jaundice, whereas that's the yellowing of the skin. And from what I've heard, jaundice babies can be a little sluggish / sleepy, so I don't know if that had something to do with it. But thank God he's now cleared of jaundice. He's good, but I had to really push him to nurse, doing the skin-to-skin contact. So it was a little bit of a slow start, but I kept at it, and it worked out. So I do have to give a lot of credit to La Leche League, and I had done a lot of reading on breastfeeding, so that really helps to alleviate some of my fears, or I hope it helps with you guys. If you guys are planning to breastfeed, definitely contact La Leche League, read books, do everything you need to do, because you kind of have to be self-educated with breastfeeding and just really do your homework. And there's a lot of good YouTube videos out there that are good for how to breastfeed and everything, so definitely check those out. But yeah, so I ended up staying 2 nights in the hospital, and that's always really hard. Again, I was away from my daughter for the first time, and it's not home. You know, there's no place like home, and the bed gets uncomfortable, but I had remembered that from giving birth to Ariana, that the hospital is just not a comfortable place, at least not for me. So I was really excited when we were finally discharged and we could go home. And you know, it's wonderful to not be pregnant anymore, because now I feel like I can eat every single food. I can eat sushi, I can have my coffee again and everything, and I love eating all my deli meats, and so that's been really great. So I'm just really excited, and I'm excited now that we're a family of 4, and I feel like we can because my husband and I both come from families of 4, so we like that number for our family size. I mean, if we are blessed with another child, we'll be excited, but I think we're good with a family of 4 for now. We're very happy, and I'm just looking forward to growing as a family and watching Lucas grow and seeing his interaction with his sister. And you know, it's been a little bit of a transition with Ariana having a brother. I mean, she's not the center of our world anymore, and now she has to share the spotlight with Lucas, and it's definitely an adjustment. You know, she was sleeping through the night, and the first week she experienced a little bit of night waking, but thank God that seems to have kind of settled. But we're still adjusting, and so there's other issues that are coming up that we're like, you know, we got to address that. And it's also, she's becoming a toddler now. She's leaving the baby stages behind, and she's going to be age 2 soon. So, you know, there's a lot that goes along with that as well. And so it's just stuff we're going to deal with. And I'm just excited to face the future and to see what happens. And I'll be excited when they're out of diapers, but I'm trying to enjoy this time now. It's not easy. I'm not sleeping much. It's a miracle that I'm even filming this, and so I'm excited to film this though. And but I did film some other videos when I was pregnant where I was answering princess questions, and I still have to upload some of those, so stay tuned for those. So I might be pregnant in some upcoming videos, but I still wanted to share this little bundle of joy with you guys. Look at this. It's a train blanket that I have. And so yeah, and then as far as my post-pregnancy body goes, my clothes don't fit me the same at all, because my shape is all discombobulated or whatever. It's just not the same, and so I can't wait to start exercising, although I am gonna wait. So I'm thinking I'm gonna try and see what little exercise I can do next week, because you know, he's only 2.5 weeks, so I am trying to let my body rest. But I think I would like to start doing a little bit of cardio, very light, like bicycling at home. So we'll see how that goes next week. No promises. I don't wanna commit to anything just yet, but I would like to start to try to slowly get my strength back, because I feel like I was such a couch potato towards the end of my pregnancy. Like I wanna move again, and I want my old strength back that I used to have, and you know, it's really hard. Oh. He can tend to be a little bit gassy, so I have to burp him a lot. But he's such a good little boy, and we love him very much. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will definitely be seeing some pictures of Lucas, definitely. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more on Disney princess stuff and mommy stuff, how I'm doing handling or juggling 2 babies, and comment below if there's videos that you want me to make or that you want to see, or if you have questions or anything. I would love to hear, and I'm sorry if I don't reply as quickly as I would like. It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. I do tend to reply a little bit more on Instagram, but even that's getting kind of hard to do, juggling 2 kids and everything else that life has to bring. But I want to send love to you guys, and I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and for being so supportive and encouraging. I really appreciate it, and if I can be encouraging or supportive back to you, then I'm sending it your way. So anyway, God bless you guys, and have a great night, and thank you so much. Bye.